Hello, and thank you for joining me today. We are doing an eyeball for the second day in a row. And as you can see, like they did with the first one, I drew the eyeball itself like the great big circle, and then I drew a smaller circle for my iris and another smaller circle for my pupil. And then I am creating that line, which gives me either corner of the eyelid. And then I use the iris and the pupil to gauge where the eyelid should be hitting on the iris, and that usually gives me a pretty accurate lines as far as the shape of the eye overall when you have your starting and ending points. Don't forget, on the inner part you need to mark where that tear duct is. That's where the eyeball itself actually ends, and we have some more skin. Drawing in the eyelids, these are very important, especially that top line. Normally it's very dark and very visible, so you don't want to forget where that is. And today you can see I'm drawing a lot darker than I did on the first day. I was less timid about needing to cover up the graphite, and I know now that I can go ahead and go darker because you can always cover that graphite up, but I do want to make sure I can see my pencil marks through the gray that I'm going to put over top of this. There you go, putting on the gray paint. Again, we are painting in acrylics today, and this is just a very thin layer. I haven't drawn in anything with paint. That is all just the graphite. It's just been covered up by that paint. Oh, like I did in the first piece, I'm going in and I'm marking all my light areas first. Those are the areas that I don't want to kill. It's always easy to take an area darker. It is a lot harder to take an area lighter. There we go, and I'm drawing in that eyebrow. I'm taking a different approach from yesterday. I didn't like how wispy and kind of weird it looked, to be honest. So today I kind of blocked in that a little bit better. And we're moving on to all the areas that are dark. That includes the shadow right here between the eye, and that's usually helping mark where the face is coming down and the nose is right there. So a lot the same way I worked yesterday, except I'm being a little thicker and a little more bold with my initial colors here, and then I'm just using my fingers to press that in. You can also use a paintbrush, maybe just have a clean paintbrush to help kind of move the color around. Essentially what I've done is loaded up a lot of paint onto that main brush, and that's why you see me reach up with my fingers, because I want something that's clean and doesn't have paint on it. And I personally just feel like fingers smudge and blend paint really well. I always have them on me, so that's what I use, but just use a paintbrush if you don't want to have to do that. And yeah, this is the whole process. Stick with me here. This is where we are just constantly adding in the light areas, dark areas, and just going back and forth and blending in between. I think it's really helpful to block out those areas first with slightly thicker color, and then as you blend them together, you just want to soften those edges. You don't want to lose the middle part, that primary part of where you put that pop of color, because you put it there for a reason. You want to actually see that contrast. It's the biggest thing. Don't lose your contrast when you're blending. I have been prone to that. I still do that sometimes, but that is something you want to keep an eye out for. Just like with yesterday, that eyeball there, the outside, the white of the eye, make sure that you have some shading and have some variation in that. One way to make it look really flat is just to put that white, and then you're going to kill the whole thing. So lots of shading everywhere should have variations when you're looking, especially at anything natural, to include skin, plants, all of that. Nothing is ever really a solid color. There we go. Outer edges are always darker. And you can see even there, I don't want that hard line. I'm trying to blend it in, but I'm also trying to leave the area right around the pupil lighter. Take a moment and look at a reference photo or look at your eye in the mirror, and just take a look at how you have that concentration of pigment at the outer edge of the iris, and then as you come closer to the center, there's occasionally some darkness around there, but that's like almost this ring of another light color, I find. So you don't want to lose that. And you just build it up with layers. And I'm going to be honest with you guys, these little breaks of silence in between, I know everybody has their preference on music, so especially if you're painting along, I'm not going to add any music in this video, and I'm just going to let you guys paint along with me, put on your own music if you want, but that's how we're going to do this video today. We're going to try something new. Lots of highlights, lots of blending. And you'll notice when I'm adding in new areas of color, if I'm not trying to cover a previous area, you can see how I add in a splash of it and then kind of blend those edges, but I don't lose the pop of that color in the middle. And if it's not blending, then you need to go thicker. Don't be afraid of your paint. So now with the eyebrow today, I had that block of color, but now I'm just going to add in a little bit of wispiness in the eyebrow, some individual hairs. But because I already put down that darker color for that section, they look a little bit fuller. Kind of like when people use makeup on their eyebrows and you put that filling powder in to give it a little more solid. And we are very nearing the end here already. I think we can say that this looks a lot better than yesterday's eye. I think this is more successful, and the difference between the two is that we're going a little heavier on the paint today. We're going really bold, trying to have those big areas not all blended together. We're allowing those blocks of color to just be that. Really, I should say those blocks of value, because that's all we have going on here is a bunch of blacks, whites, and grays. So great blending practice for you, great shading practice. If we take color out of the equation, it's a lot easier to see, but we will get there. After I finish doing, I think we're going to do eyes and then noses next, and then we'll do some mouths, and then we will put it all together. And then I think, why don't we do that again in color? Let me know what you guys think of that, if there's something that you would like to see, but that's the plan. We're adding in some lights. Again, when you're adding in lines to the eye there, all of those lines use the middle of the pupil as where it's radiating out from. So always feel like the center of the eye is drawing your brush back in. Little gravitational force to your colors. A little more highlight. Don't be afraid to make that eye crease darker and also to add some shading, which is what I'm doing there. I already have a dark line that defines it, but I was just adding a little shading so you could see the transition. And here we go with that script liner for some eyelashes. This is still just black acrylic paint. I did mix in a little bit of matte medium. It's an additive you can use with your acrylic. Sometimes it makes them flow a little better on the page, and I'm still not sure on it. I do think these eyelashes are going a lot better, and these are just little wispy strokes. And the thing to note is that if you followed along and you did it this way, then you defined kind of the eyelid, and you can see where there's that edge. And you always want your eyelashes to be coming out from that edge so it looks like they're growing up and out. Here's the two of them side by side. We're getting better. Join me tomorrow. We're going to do this one more time. Bye.